locale. Come si possono conciliare queste due differenti esigenze? Ce lo spiega Pitichoke Chulapamornsri, che è il Vice President di Crop One Holdings, e ci parlerà delle vertical farms. A questo punto lui l'intervento lo farà in inglese, quindi potete indossare, per chi ne ha bisogno, le cuffie per la traduzione.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Pitichoke Chulapamornsri. I probably have the longest name here. So I came here from San Francisco, but I'm originally from Thailand. I was born and raised there. And in Asian culture, food is very important in our culture, just like Italy. Who here in this room have eaten today? Have you eaten today? Great, great. And if you haven't eaten today, I'm sure that you are hungry and that we're running a little behind, so I'm going to keep this pretty quick. But today I'm going to talk to you about food, specifically the future of food. So in the 1800s, there are less than 1 billion people. In 1900s, for a 100-year period, the population increased by less than 1 billion. But today, the population is over 7 billion. It has quadrupled in the past 100 years. And by the time we know it, we're going to hit 10 billion people. But there's not enough place, there's not enough land, and there's not enough resources to grow food conventionally. How are we going to feed the world? And the way we're growing food is not efficient, and I will tell you why. First, since the conventional way of farming, you need to grow in places that can grow food, in places that have the exact type of soil, in places that have the temperature and the right season. So with this, that means that most of the food that we eat are transported from far away, and that's bad for the environment. In the United States, most of the food are grown in California. And people in New York who need to eat food, their food would be traveled for sometime up to 2 weeks. Over 3,000 miles. And that's a lot of carbon emission. Secondly, because of the long transportation, a lot of the food gets rotten in the truck, in the distribution center, at the grocery store where you shop, and at your home because the food has been harvested weeks, sometimes even months before you actually can consume it. And this is the big problem. In the United States, 40%, almost half, of the food that is produced are thrown away. That's almost 1% of the United States GDP. And I'm sure this problem is the same worldwide. Second problem is land scarcity. So growing food conventionally requires a lot of spaces because you can grow only in 1 layers. And a lot of the time you need like a lot of spaces in between for water, for irrigation. A lot of time you need to be far away from the highway, and it takes a lot of land. And the way we are treating the land are not sustainable and they're not good for the land. We usually put a lot of fertilizer, a lot of chemicals, pesticide, herbicide, fungicide to keep the insects away, to keep the bugs away, to keep the pests away, and that's very bad for the land. In the past 40 years, one third of the land that are arable are gone. The population is growing. We need more land, not less land. Third, water. Water is a very precious resource. And we use 70% of the water to grow food. Which is, not bad if the water is used fully. But, when you water the plant, when you water the crop, less than 1% actually go to the plant. Most of the time when you water, the water would just get absorbed by the soil, would run off, and the crop end up not taking that much water. And again, the use of chemicals causes the water source to be contaminated. And fresh water, clean water that can be used for drinking, that can be used for human consumption, that can be used to feed the plant has been decreasing because of conventional farming. Fourth, this is 2019. One would think that we would have figured it out on how to feed the world. But globally, 1 in every 10 people are still hungry. They're still undernourished. They do not have enough food to eat. And I'm not just talking about, developing country, underdeveloped country, in South Asia and Africa, even in the United States. Over 20 million people in the United States live in food desert, which means that they don't have easy access to fresh product. And the type of food that they get are processed food like frozen food, canned food. Fresh produce are very expensive. And lastly, is job safety. Because in most places in the world, you cannot farm all year round. You can farm in the summer, in the spring, sometimes in the fall. You can't farm in the winter when there's snow outside. So most of the farm labor are seasonal. And a lot of people don't like seasonal farming because their jobs are not secure for the whole year. So people who want to go in farming has been decreasing, and we don't have enough farm labor to actually grow food. So it's pretty depressing. Is there a solution? Are we gonna be doomed? Or, we're 7 billion people now. Will the next 3 billion people just have to starve? Do we have to eat less? Well, there's a solution. It's vertical farming. And before I talk about vertical farming, there's a video that I would like to show you. Vertical farming, you give the plant what they need. You give them the exact amount of water, you give them the exact amount of plant nutrients. You don't use any pesticide. We control all the environment factors, as you can see. We grow in a grow room. We control the temperature, we control the humidity, we even control the wind flow and how fast the wind flow, because different type of plants have their own preference. And lastly, we collect millions of data for each day that we grow plants, so that we can use those data to come up with the most optimal way to grow food. With this, we're able to provide globally consistent supply of food. We're able to provide higher yield. We're able to grow the farm anywhere. It can be in the frigid cold of the north or in the middle of the desert. And our plant in the grow room is triple sealed room. So we don't need to use any pesticide because pests and insects and bugs cannot get in. Let's recap of all the problems, all the depressing problems that I have introduced at the beginning and how we're going to solve this. Climate change. You can put the farm anywhere. You can grow all year round. So the food that we're producing in the United States, by the time we harvest and by the time the consumer can buy from the store, is less than 24 hours. Land. As you can see, we grow vertically, we grow upward, and that's just one floor that you see. We have like multiple shelves. You can stack it up. You can go in 2 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories, or even higher. So the land efficiency can be over 400 times. Third, water. To grow 1 pound of salad conventionally takes over 130 gallons of water. Vertical farming, we use 1.2 gallons. Food security. With vertical farming, we're able to put the farm where the population are. We are able to help feed the world with the higher yield because we can control the temperature, the climate, the nutrients. And lastly, job security. Our farm operates all year round, and our farmers, we call them scientists. A little bit about Crop One, the company that I work for. We were founded in 2012 in Boston. In 2015, we have been in commercial production. And last year, we just announced a joint venture with Emirates Airline to build the world's largest farm in Dubai. So as I have explained, we can grow food anywhere, and we are building the world's largest farm that will be growing food in the middle of the desert. So there's a real problem about food, and there needs to be a solution. And I strongly believe that vertical farming will be able to grow food that are clean, will be able to grow food that are sustainable, and will be able to grow food that will meet the world's need. With that, I'm super excited to see the future of farming on how we can grow more using less. Thank you.